looks like you're a freaking rock star DJ over there in Denmark. This is awesome. Look at this. I just love your setup. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? That's the best
Mhm.
attitude. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, you say something to somebody and somebody always has to try to figure out why it's not a good idea or why it's not going to work instead of just being like, yeah, who knows? Maybe you'll do it. Good
So
luck.
true.
You know what I mean? Just say good luck for God's sakes. The person's got enough things going against them to do any of it. And
But we
so,
don't know, you
yeah,
know?
we have no
And
clue.
it
But
and if we shut it down from the beginning, well, then a lot of things don't happen.
that's so true. We're going to get too far into this. Guys, girls, Kathy and I have been talking for a long time. We went to high school together. Some of you probably will know if you see this. And now you're living in Denmark. We've talked before, but founder of Active Action, APS, Attraction and Retention, intercultural trainer, branding, resilience and well-being, cultural awareness. Well-being is what we're going to talk a lot about.
Mhm.
You and I really connected there. Um, as I try to improve my health and I see how that changes my life and those around me. And then, the journey you've been on. And, everybody gravitates towards something, whatever that may be. Yours was jumping into water for an entire year, which I'd
Mhm.
love to hear about. Currently, something pulling me with the grips of something I've never felt before is to hike the Appalachian Trail, which is like a 4 to 6 month commitment. And it's every card I have laying around here is to plan that. And I don't know when that'll happen.
Wow.
But there's something I can't help the drive that is pulling me towards that. Um, so I want to hear about your year-long dip in the ocean, lessons
Mhm.
learned, tips for maybe somebody who wants to do something like that, kind of why you did it, but um, you know, yeah, and if that changed over the course of it, because why you started it might be different on why you finished it. And then one other thing I'm just going to drop, and hopefully we'll have time to circle this, is on one of your posts it said, I laugh because it says Denmark, in Denmark it's vacation month. I want to know, what is vacation month? Because we don't have that here, as you
We
well
have
know.
it. I do know that, but we do. I'll tell you about that. Um, I'm dying to know about this appellation, but this is why. What's driving you for? What is it?
I saw a girl do it and like a YouTube video, hour-long YouTube video,
Okay.
and I was like, wow, this is powerful. And it's like 5 million steps. It's from Georgia to Maine, and it's 2,000 miles or 2,100 or 2,200 miles. And I think just the challenge and the growth that everybody goes through there, and also there's a little business tactics weaved in there. I mean, if to be honest with you, I after the fact because I want to do it as a challenge, but then I thought, well, can I write a book while I'm there? What can I do
Mhm.
while I'm there? Everybody that puts a video out that does the trail has at least 1 million views on their trail video. So like there's an opportunity to launch, maybe use it as a launching platform. What I'm calling right now, I just rebranded Crush Life TV. And this is kind of what we're doing here. We're talking to friends of mine that I think are crushing life and that I mean are crushing life. And, you know,
Very
that's
cool.
why, yeah. And so that's the well-being thing I think is huge, right?
Yeah,
It's what allows us, like you said today in our text message, it's what allows us to do all the other things at a higher level,
completely. I mean,
you
without
know?
it, it wouldn't happen. There's
But
no way.
but to some, and even myself, I was just on a little walk thinking about our talk here, and I thought the hardest thing for me is going to be the cold because I don't like the cold. And like when I get cold, I went camping recently with a buddy from college, and I was the only one that camped outside. And I was so cold one night, I was like, I had to go into my buddy's car. I was shivering like I couldn't. I was layered up. They weren't even layered up. So there's something in me, and it's like I'm afraid of that. And so someone's AT or might be jumping in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like somebody might think the AT is crazy, but something might be doing a year of going into the cold water is crazy.
I mean,
That scares
you know,
me.
it scares you. Okay. It scared me too. I'm going to be honest with you because I mean, just to back up a little bit, I wrote you in our message, it wasn't always like this. I feel that well-being for me currently is a state. I mean, it's the key to everything. It's the key for us to function as a family, for me to function on all the different levels, because I do a lot of different things. And my work requires me to be kind of at the top of my game most of the time, because I do facilitate, I do consulting. There's a lot of speaking, there's a lot of preparation. So I have to focus. I have to, when I'm there, I have to be really engaged and I have to answer people's questions. I don't have a bad day when I'm on. So that has actually allowed me to function in that way, to give a kind of like 200%, but also then, because when I started with my work, I'm very engaged. I work with internationals who live abroad, and basically it's to help them thrive and lead really good lives, specifically in Denmark. And I work with companies, I work with municipalities, I work with universities, to help them support the internationals and to keep them, hence the retention. It's not just attracting, but also keeping them here so that they want to stay in Denmark. So there's a lot riding on these workshops that I do. But the thing is that I used to do them, and then I would feel like I needed 3 days off because I felt I gave so much of myself. And so how do I get this balance back where my family still wants to engage and they need me and there are questions and, there's homework and there are family things that we need to organize. And I'm a wife, I'm a mom. So how do I do all of this? And I started thinking about it and I thought, okay, what can I do so that I have a balance? And it seems kind of funny because, Oprah, I love Oprah, and Oprah has been talking about this for years, to fill your cup. And I thought, oh my God, when I went back to that, I thought this is so important, right? How do you give to people if you have nothing, even for yourself? You just feel empty, you feel drained, you feel tired. You have to do something, right? And for me, it was kind of searching, what is it that I like, first of all, because if I'm going to do something on a regular basis, it has to be something that I enjoy. Okay. Otherwise, I won't do it. I'll just force myself, and eventually, most likely, I will stop doing it. I will get upset with myself. I will get disappointed, which will lead to a bunch of negative feelings and emotions. And that's not where I want to be. Yeah. So we have been running for many, many years, and we actually started running when we quit smoking because we both smoked for a long time. And that was our way to kind of battle, getting rid of that addiction, was to kind of channel it into running. And it was long distance running for many, many years. So I have a lot of half marathons that I ran. I ran a marathon when I turned 40. But then it was kind of like, I kind of fell out of love with it. I really didn't know what to do about it. So there was weightlifting, there was swimming, there was a lot of different things. And then I got into meditation, and I really kind of embraced the whole well-being. And again, whatever works for you, because what I'm sharing is what works for me. It doesn't mean that this is what everyone has to go out and do, because some things are just not for all of us,
disclaimer,
right?
Disclaimer. Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, meditation, for example, for a long time was a no-go. I just absolutely thought it was a waste of time. It was boring. I couldn't really get into it. I do it now, but I do it in my own way. There's an app that I do use, but most of my meditation is done when I run or when I'm in the water, right? You know this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I'm new to, but Headspace has a good little like running meditation thing through the Nike running coach app, whatever.
Yes.
Wow, very cool. I never thought to mix the two. So a fan. Sorry
right?
About that.
It totally works. And I call it active meditation because that's what works for me. I have a hard time sitting down, for example, for half an hour just on a meditation pillow and just meditating. It doesn't work for me. So we have to find whatever works and what fits with our personality, our lifestyle, right? And so mornings became a huge thing for me because I'm kind of going back to talking about filling that cup. And I thought, okay, well, when can I fill my cup? And I've always woken up pretty early. And I thought this could be a good moment for me to have some alone time without the people who I love the most, but I also need quiet time.
Yeah.
And I thought if I start waking up quite early, I'll have time to write. I'll have time to, meditate. I started doing short meditations. They're more affirmations. It's more kind of active meditation. It's not just sitting in silence. And journaling became a huge thing for me. I started journaling, and it goes hand in hand because the first thing I always did was drink some lemon water or like a tonic that I make. And then I would have a coffee. And I thought, okay, when I'm doing this, I could also be journaling. I could be writing, and I can also do some affirmations. So again, it's fitting things into your lifestyle, right? So that time is also important for all of us. So we kind of have to double up or triple up on things that we already do and do that kind of in bundles, right? So that it works.
Do you use a specific journal or anything? Like there's 100 million of them out there, but sometimes people like to have the template or the guide. No,
you know what? I have a notebook. I usually pick a notebook that I like, something that kind of catches my eye. And I do gratitude journaling, but it's not really fixed. When I started out, I looked at these kind of skeletons of, well, how do you gratitude journal? What does that even mean? Right. And I kind of read about it and I thought, okay, being grateful for things, think about 3 things. It was simple. It made sense in the beginning because we do need that when we're starting out to kind of have a guide. Yeah. And it was really hard. I mean, I remember a couple first times when I sat there with the gratitude journal, I was like, what the hell am I supposed to say? Like, what am I grateful? Okay, I'm grateful for the sun. I mean, everything seemed really kind of cheesy and just, and then I thought, well, why not? I mean, who cares, right? It's kind of whatever I'm feeling, kind of go with it. It's also allowing ourselves to let go and just go with what we're feeling or what actually makes us happy in that moment, what we are grateful for, what, made us feel good or made us feel like we made a difference, whatever comes to, I think in the beginning, I was overthinking a lot. And the moment I stopped overthinking, things just started kind of pouring out. And so now it's very organic and it's very natural and it doesn't, I just kind of write whatever comes to mind.
Yep. I got you. Keep going. I had to shut the door. Sorry. There's people showing up.
No. Okay.
No, it's hard. I agree. You overthink it. Sometimes stream of consciousness is a good practice. Just write. I heard something that said, write at least a page or a couple pages in the morning, but it doesn't have to be legible. You don't have to be able to read it. Just everything, because then it just kind of like gets you thinking and it gets you writing, and then it can be a struggle. And sometimes, like my buddy Tony Jones, our friend Tony Jones always says, like, even if for the first month you write, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my job, eventually it'll change. Like you'll think of something.
Yes, it's true.
Or something will happen and you'll be like, oh, I'm thankful I didn't get a speeding ticket yesterday or whatever it is,
Exactly. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's true. There's also that term, I don't know if you've heard it. It's called that kind of writing when you just write whatever is comes out is called, like, it can also be called an emotional dump.
I like that.
Right. That also the emotions. And as I researched more, I found out that, it's actually really important to ask ourselves also, how do I feel? So I start my journaling by asking myself, how do I feel? And not just good or bad.
Yeah, I know.
So actually kind of tuning into the emotions and naming those emotions and saying them out loud, because it makes a huge difference. I mean, we ask other people all the time, how are you? How are you doing? How's it going?
Yeah.
How often do we ask ourselves, right?
No, that's true.
So
do you notice there a difference in outcome since you've started? I mean, everybody recommends this, but what do you see? What can you notice? I'm not saying it doesn't work because I slack in this area and I don't want to.
What I see is that it's much easier for me to actually name my emotions. And even if I'm having a conversation with someone, to say, this actually makes me feel uncomfortable, I don't really feel comfortable talking about that, or I feel really
Interesting.
happy that you said that. So actually
Wow.
focusing on what we feel, and then
Yeah.
it's much easier to say it, because we've kind of trained our brain as a muscle that it's okay to talk about these emotions. It's okay to say them out loud.
Yeah.
Um, and it makes, personal life definitely easier, because you're able to kind of voice what you're feeling, and it's not in anger or frustration. It's more natural, because you're also talking about the positives. It's not just the negatives. Again, a lot of times when we talk about emotions, we focus often on the negative emotions, because something is happening and we feel upset or we feel
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah.
And then we talk about that. But we don't often say all the positive emotions that we're feeling, right? And sharing them in a forum or a platform or wherever we might be. So that has been a huge change, for me, and it actually just makes life easier. So it's nice.
That's interesting. When you
Yeah.
speak then to people like that, does it scare people or does it make people uncomfortable? Have you know? I mean, not probably everybody, but you know what I mean? Because there's something to be speaking almost candidly, but also like emotionally. Because I know I try to connect with people on an emotional level pretty quickly. That's just
Mhm.
how I am. And I can tell sometimes if they're not there, and that's okay. Then I let it go. But like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because emotions are scary. Again, a word, but you know what I mean? Yeah, they're messy or whatever.
They are, they shouldn't be, but I think you and I have talked about this as well before. And I don't want to get too much into it, because then we're kind
Yeah,
of going away from but it is also important to say that we have grown up, I think, with certain generations not being able to talk about emotions. And that's just, and I don't blame people, because if you're not given the tools, if you're not given the knowledge and the awareness, then it's very difficult to tackle that. But I think we are also that generation that has issues, because we were raised in a way. I see it now a lot, even in schools, where this is, there's focus on emotions, there's focus on expressing what you feel. And that's how we solve conflicts. Completely different from how we grew up, right?
yeah. No, that's true.
So I think it's changing. And I don't think, we are still scared of emotions. And to answer your questions, the funny thing is, the more I got into all of this, the more I saw that people around me were very similar or on similar journeys. So
Yeah,
I don't really have that it scares people. At work, obviously, I have to kind of feel out the scene, and I have to know my audience. And that requires, again, for me to stay kind of clear and sharp, to know, okay, are people on the same page, or is it just, as you said, completely something new to them? And maybe they need more time, or maybe that's not
yeah.
the right question to ask that person. But on a more personal level and professional level, people I work with, people I socialize with, it's kind of it's kind of the
That's how
same.
it. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we have the same interests, or we are on these journeys where this is completely normal, and it's okay to discuss it and to say what works, what doesn't work, or what is still a bit uncomfortable, or what we're working with, comfort zones. So
yeah. No, that makes
yeah.
sense. That's interesting that you say that. Sometimes the audience, it made me think of No Boost 30. No Boost 30 did change a lot of people's lives. We may not be going
Mhm.
on with it. I don't know how that's going. I mean, we're having talks, but I think I've been speaking to the wrong crowd because if you look at our demographic, it's 50 plus, and I'm talking now that I look at it, I'm talking to myself, also like maybe even I feel like a younger crowd mentally, but the people that I'm talking to, like have already gone through that. I think
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying. Like because we're surrounding ourselves with those people. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, hey, the people I'm doing this to are also in this journey. You know what I mean? So it's like I got to make sure that the audience, I'm talking to the right audience when I'm trying to, I get what
Hmm.
you say when you mean that. And I think I lost touch with that a little bit. So we're kind of trying to see, because we see some great analytics on the back end. I just wanted to take what you said and just kind of show how I could see that in like almost my real life happening, right?
Yeah.
No, so I could go on forever, but I want to get back to the ocean thing.
Yes.
Okay, so you decided to start this, and you were like, "Hey, this looks like a great long-term goal." Was there somebody in particular that inspired that?
It was actually a lot of things. I hated cold water prior to
Oh,
this.
goodness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I've been in Denmark for over 10 years, and I would never go in the water in Denmark. The water is quite cold. We
Yeah.
are not the furthest up north, but we are. And so the water doesn't get very warm. And please excuse me because I'm not in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius. Right now, currently, the water is about 14 degrees Celsius. So that
Right.
is what summertime we get to 22, 23. So it's not, it's not the Caribbean, most definitely not. And for me, it was always cold. I wouldn't go in the summer. There were maybe 2 summers where the water was quite warm where I went in. Otherwise, there was no way, forget it. My husband would go in, my daughter would go in. And I was like, no way, I'm staying on the beach. You guys have fun. It was a no-go. But throughout the years, I would see that there were a lot of people who would swim all year round or dip all year round. It depends on what works for you again.
Dip.
And there are associations, there are clubs that people sign up to that are members. You pay for this. You have a little kind of hut in a house. Some have saunas, some
That
don't.
helps. This helps the
Yes.
situation. This helps the
Yes.
situation.
Yes. The thing is that Danes are very liberal, not only in the freedom of speech but also in how they present themselves when they are nude. So most people do this and they're nude, and they also chit chat with each other. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I can't. There's
Having
no
a
way.
coffee.
It's like, ta-da!
Yeah. So how
no.
about the bears? Yeah.
Right. And I thought, no, I don't know. I don't want to do it this way. And I was inspired. Seriously, I was like, I don't think this is for me. I went one time way in the beginning when I started, because my first year, I thought, what am I going to do in the winter, safety wise and so on. It's better when there are more people around.
Yeah.
So I went
support.
once. Yeah. And I encountered there was a circle of naked people having coffee together. And I just kind of turned around and I was like, no, I can't.
These are my people. These are my people. I want to come to Denmark more than ever just now because of this.
Come
Nothing,
on.
Kathy, much love for you, but these are.
I was very
Wow.
inspired by my friend who was doing this. She started a year earlier, and she used to be sick quite a lot. And after she started, she did not have a cold once. And I thought, okay, this is incredible. So this is pretty cool. She also has kids. And so kids, we know, drag everything possible in, right? Especially fall, winter. And she wasn't getting sick. And she said to me, this is really great. I feel so much better. And I thought, okay. And she was kind of encouraging me just to try it out. And then I had a moment where I don't know, it was a lot of different things. I felt extremely emotional, and I always loved water in the sense of being that it was very calming. I always felt that it was, I felt very comfortable swimming in the water by the sea. I felt relaxed. I felt that it always replenished me. But I thought, I have to go to the water. And you and I talked about this because it was early. I think it was beginning of April or March. And I said, I have to go. I'm going to the water. And my husband said, what? And he said, okay, you're going to the water. And I said, yeah, I'm going in. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, I just have to go in. And so my daughter went with me, and I went in and I just kind of went under completely. I came out and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. It was I just felt like everything that was weighing me down kind of washed away. And I felt so much lighter and I felt so much better. And I thought, okay, I guess this is what everyone is talking about. It wasn't, but at that time, I kind of felt this is great.
You had a taste of something.
I did, yes. And so I called my friend and I said, okay, I went into the water and this is what I feel now. And she said, okay, great. And she said,
See you
you should
Tuesday.
continue. Yeah. And then I thought, you know what, I'll just challenge myself. And then I don't know, that year thing came out somewhere because I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to do it every day because, make it a little bit of a challenge. And so I started going. And what I found is I live very close to the water now. So for me, it was nice to go where the closest place because there were some people there. We have a tennis court there, and there are some dog walkers. And then we have a beach, which is also close, not too far from us, but that's driving distance. And there are always people there. They are many, many dog walkers and people running or exercising, but there's no one really like right by you or on top of you or waiting to get in the water, because you also have those areas where people kind of wait their turn.
Yeah.
And that allowed me just to feel really free and also to connect with nature. And so that was kind of became this really that meditation that I had because I was by myself. I was going in, and the thing with going is that you should start when it's still warm.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gentle transition into the water getting cooler and cooler, and also the air temperature getting cooler and cooler. And so the funny thing is that when you get undressed after you've been doing, you kind of transition, you don't really feel cold being outside. You do feel cold as you start getting into the water because obviously the water is quite cold.
Yeah.
But that I found really, because I remember that when it started getting into the winter season, I thought this is so weird because I normally, if you said to someone, okay, you're in the middle of winter, get undressed and go stand in your bathing suit outside, you would be like, this is crazy. There's no way I'm doing that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't have that. So the going into the water was kind of slow, and people can do that with a shower as well. You don't have to go into a body of water. You can take cold showers, but again, the thing is that you do it slowly. You don't just put it on super cold water the first time you go in, because that can really shock your body, and of course it can have really bad effects. And I never encourage people to do this because you have to know yourself, how your health is. Many people check with their doctors if this is okay. So this isn't like, just a joke. I mean, this is quite a serious thing. It is kind of shock therapy for the body. If you're not used to it, it has to be done properly. You have to take caution when you do this. But what I started noticing, it was really interesting, was that I definitely felt this incredible amount of positive energy and just a lot of energy from the morning after dipping. So
really,
yes, I mean, it's such a weird thing. The way I would describe it is when the temperature get cooler and the water is cooler, you kind of feel when you get out that you have this cool blanket around you. It's not uncomfortable. It's actually a really nice feeling. And it stays with you for some time. So what really? I do, yes, it's really incredible. It's cool. Really, really interesting. But what I do, I don't do it yet because it's not so cold, but obviously you have to have proper clothing afterwards, right? Because you can't, get hypothermia or make yourself so cold that you won't be able to warm up. So with swimming or dipping, it's very much, I believe, you have to know your own body. I don't promote this staying with a timer or however. I don't do that. Yeah. I stay however long I feel that my body's saying this is okay. Yeah. Of course, when you start going into the cold water, the first reaction is that your body says, don't do this. Yeah. And so it wants you to get out as quickly as possible because it's not normal. It is kind of the flight syndrome of it wants to protect you. It's not used to it. And it's not something that you've been doing throughout your life. So obviously the brain will send signals for you to get out right away. Yeah. And here's the interesting thing, because there is where you start kind of mentally challenging yourself, right? Because you're not doing anything to harm yourself. And so you're saying, no, it's okay. We can stay in a bit longer. And so
So
people
funny.
can have different reactions.
Yeah.
But when I did it last year, and I was extending it because I could feel that, okay, right now when I was
Yeah.
going in after some time, I didn't feel the pins and needles. I felt that, okay, I could stay in a little bit longer. I could, into winter, I don't really swim because it gets really difficult. It's really cold.
Yeah.
So if you want to do all your swimming, like proper swimming, I would say you have to have a wetsuit. And then you have people also here that do that. For us, it's more of, staying in the water. I swim a little bit out and then I go back in when it's still possible.
Head under?
But sometimes it
Yeah.
depends. Again, I don't have these, I have a definite routine that I do, and there are things that I do on a regular basis. But that, I think it depends if I feel like it or not.
Did you go at
Um,
the same time every morning
I try to,
for the
yes,
most part? Like, yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, then it changes. Like right now, it's going to get darker and darker for us. So very quickly. So I have to go later and later because I do not enjoy going into the water when it's pitch black.
Yeah.
That's not my
Have you
thing.
had
And
to do that?
no, and I don't think I
No.
would because I just don't think it's safe.
Yeah, agreed. I just wonder
Um,
if it, sometimes you get caught up and all of a sudden this is the day I got to go in the dark and you're like, it's like
no,
running in the dark. I don't enjoy it, even though I live
I
in
also don't.
like the country of Nebraska, like nobody. It's cornfields out there. I can look at it, but I'm still like, safety,
No.
whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you. So
Yeah.
what about a couple things? One, just what do you mean proper clothing when you get out? You gotta have like a bear
Yes.
blanket? You have a,
No.
what do you
No.
need?
But let me just tell you what I've noticed
Oh yeah,
first, and
please,
then we'll get to the clothing.
please.
So the immune system
Okay,
through the roof, right?
really?
Metabolism. This is super interesting. There are so many studies done on this now, more and
Hmm.
more. And I did not know about this. We have two kinds of fat. We have brown fat and we have white fat.
Oh yeah, right.
Yes. And the brown fat is actually little babies have quite a lot of it, which is very, very interesting. And we as adults also have it, but it is activated through cold. So what happens with the brown fat, it's called like the good fat. I'm not an expert in this. It's just a little bit because I find this so interesting. What
Hmm.
happens with the brown fat when it's cold, it's activated and then it starts burning and utilizing glucose and the white fat to keep you warm. And so your metabolism starts going. And
Mm.
what I started feeling during late fall and winters, when I would come back, I was so hungry because this process had started. So the cold
Yeah,
exposure helps you with the metabolism. So there's
interesting.
definitely a huge plus when it comes to that. Um, the energy, what I see now is also clarity. When I go and I come out, very often I'm able to think very clearly. And so when I get to work right after, I'm much better at getting things done, at kind of putting things together, or even the creative
Yeah,
aspect of it. It's everything is very clear, and you're kind of very sharp. So
I like
that's
this. Yeah, I see the correlation in the spike of hormones and flight and somehow triggering flow status here. This is really cool. Keep
Mhm.
going. Sorry.
No, it's
This is
totally good.
great.
You feel much happier. And I think the reason why so many people also do it in the Nordics and Scandinavia is because of the weather. And when we get into the season, it gets dark. Obviously, we in Denmark don't have it as dark as Finland, for
Yeah.
example, where it's super dark. But you need that extra boost of, the happiness hormones and of feeling actually happier and better. So this definitely does it. Um, I felt a huge connection with nature because every morning I'm out there. So I see the sunrise. I'm there with the seasons changing. I see the wildlife, the birds, the mice, the hedgehogs, whatever comes along. But
Yeah.
it's also that you kind of feel very connected and you
Interesting.
feel
Yeah.
grounded and you feel more balanced. And also, during Corona, when I was doing this, it was kind of like, almost this weird comfort in knowing that even though we all felt like everything was falling apart, nature was still on its own course. Seasons were changing, everything was going. So it was a bit of this comfort of knowing that maybe not everything is going to, implode. Or so that definitely gave me a sense of, I guess, security.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I like the groundedness. I was just making a note because it makes me feel the same way with running, and I didn't realize it till you started saying it. I was like, it probably makes the year feel longer in that you're present in time because you're watching the time
Yes.
change like that way, and you saw it happen as opposed to like, oh my gosh, it's fall. You're like,
Exactly.
you
It's
noticed, like you
yeah.
noticed the day that the leaves turned, or like that the
Yeah.
leaves started falling off. You're like, oh my gosh, the leaves are turning. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, which is really powerful. That's why I think this AT is calling. It's so much I find running. Like I'm a pretty happy guy, you know, all things considered. But when I'm out walking, like all I want to do these days is just go walk. Well, if I have a break, I'm like, I'm going for a walk. 20 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. And I don't know why, but I feel so much comfort there. And maybe I'm trying to figure
Yes.
some things out, but I get it. It's like Forrest Gump. It like just makes sense. Like he was just like, I'm just going to start running because that's what I want to do. I just want to start walking and figure it out. Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, all right,
But
I got to figure out the water thing because I don't have an ocean nearby, and there's a
but
pond
you
down
can
the way,
do
but it's not gonna.
showers.
I'll have to
Nah,
do
no.
showers. Uh,
Showers are good.
yeah.
And then when there's a possibility to hop into a body of water, I mean, also you get to know your body like never before. You feel so connected with yourself and you're
Wow.
in tune. You can I mean, you just know and feel it's
This
incredible,
is
really.
amazing. You know what? I know we should be going soon because I could feel the enthusiasm here. But did you ever use any Wim Hof? Did you ever get into the Wim Hof guy thing? Because I know this is his realm too with the breathing in the cold water. And so I'm going to look into some Wim Hof breathing, which
Yeah,
I've
I
been
mean,
doing, but I
definitely.
want to try this cold water thing. And I think something that you really hit home for me was, dude, like, even if you're doing it in the shower, you could just do it on your legs. Get it, work your way up to your stomach, work your way up to your
Exactly.
chest, or maybe work your way on how cold it is. Like you said, you went
Yes.
into the year where the water got gradually colder. Most of us flip it on cold. We try to throw it and say 1, 2, 3, 4.
No.
It's like,
No.
same thing to running. If you make running miserable, you won't come back. You know what
But
I
baby
mean?
steps,
Yeah. So it's
exactly,
like
you
it
won't.
can't be miserable.
Slowly.
Yeah.
No, it can't be. I mean, it is pushing boundaries, it is stepping out of the comfort zone for sure. And your brain will be screaming at you that you need to stop this because it's normal, right? It's trying to protect you, but it's just slowly, a little bit every day, a little bit more, a little bit.
Was there somebody there every day? You went to different spots, but were there, you had said there was some accountability, like you had somebody that you saw on a regular basis there?
Not always. I
Not
mean,
always.
after I was, in the middle of winter, we had a horrendous winter where everything froze, and my husband made me an ice pool. He literally came
Oh,
yeah, and he
that's
he took
cool.
out. It was really cool, and there were moments where I was alone, but I know the place. I know how, it's not very deep, so I would never recommend it to if you go to new places. Absolutely not. You always have to have people with you.
Yeah.
Um, and I also know the currents when I go into when I go to the beach, I can see them and I know
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's low
Yeah.
tide, when it's high. So I know all these things and I also know what to watch out for. There have been moments where I was by myself.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I always had people. So I don't recommend it. This is just what I do. I would say that especially if you're going into unknown areas, if you go into the sea, you should always have people with you.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
because yeah, that's the thing. Clothing, you said to me really quickly. In the winter, I wear a hat when I go in the water
Nice.
almost all the time because the heat comes obviously escapes the most from the top of our head.
Up
It's
the
the same
top,
with
yeah.
babies, right?
Yeah.
We always cover the babies' heads. It's the same thing. So always, I have gloves. They are like neoprene. They are
Oh, yeah.
for surfers, windsurfers, and all of that. So I have gloves because the hands do get really cold. And
Yeah.
I have shoes as well because if you are going on to these boardwalks or whatever, some of them stay, some of them go. They are slippery, so you also have to have traction. And for me, it was because I was going off the beach, going walking into the water, and there were rocks, and it wasn't always, and it was cold as well. So having the shoes also helped a lot.
Nice.
And then afterwards, I please don't laugh at me. I have a onesie, but it's like a snowsuit. You know how kids
Yeah.
have. They
Yeah.
have these in Scandinavia and Denmark. They have them for adults, and a lot of women wear them when they're out because you also have a lot of these. We're outside a lot with kids, without kids. So people have these. It's quite usually in everyone's wardrobe, but
Huh.
it is quite warm. It's not like a typical snowsuit, but it keeps you very warm. So I have that. It's also very easy to put on because when you get out, you need to get warm quickly. So you need to have something that doesn't take a long time where you're going to be fiddling with stuff. I always have wool socks. I always have boots that I can easily slip on so that the
Nice.
feet stay
Yeah.
warm. And I always have something warm to drink so that I start sipping something warm that will keep me warm from the
Get the
inside out.
inside back going. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good tip right there.
And then a warm shower after. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Not hot, because again, if it's really cold, then you don't want to put very hot water on because that will irritate the skin as well. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Any notice the changes to your skin? Speaking of skin, going into like cold water like that all year, I don't know. I mean, your skin looks beautiful, and I mean for real, but
Thank you.
like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, just kind of popped into my mind. It's
Yes.
got to be something, you
Yes.
know what I mean? Something like that.
For sure. I
Interesting.
mean, overall, the body, I just feel, I also feel stronger. I mean, that's minus the running and the weights, but I also feel like myself, I feel stronger. I think it gives you also this boost of confidence and that you feel that you can do things that you didn't think you could do.
I believe it. I mean, you were talking about the water in Celsius, saying it was 14 Celsius. That's 57 degrees, which is, anything in the 50s is really cold, for sure, And then it depends on what it's like outside. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I got to incorporate this. I'm going to start with the showers tomorrow, and we'll see how long it goes.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, because I've
But
been
do
thinking
it
about it for long enough.
slowly.
I'm going
Yeah.
to absolutely do it slowly to the fact where I think I'll be babying it, but that might be the only way to get it done. But I did hear about the brown fat, so I'm glad you brought that up. If any of you guys are
Mhm.
hearing that for the first time, look that stuff up for sure, because
Yes.
can't remember.
And
Maybe I heard it from you, but I don't know.
I think you did because we have a couple people that are studying this here in Denmark, but there's also, I mean, there are also studies all over the world that people are working on this. Also in California, I think in Berkeley, there are so many studies that people are focusing on it because it's such an interesting thing. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I know. That's Wim talks a lot about that being cold and how it's really good for us. I heard Laird Hamilton talk a lot about it too.
yes.
And I guess one question I had written down, and we'll end it with this one. So who is inspiring you like now, either in this space, or something like that? Like I kind of like to see what Laird Hamilton's up to. I think he does good research on clean foods, and like he's a little bit older than me, and he's a huge athlete, and I like to see guys that age bracket pushing themselves. So
Yes.
so who like who's inspiring you?
Oh,
Yeah,
who's inspiring
yeah.
me? Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm so much into this part right now. Who the person who's really inspiring me currently, and this is partially work, but partially are also me, self-development and all of that we always talk about, is
Yeah.
Gabby Bernstein.
Who's Gabby Bernstein? Maybe I don't know that.
Oh,
Mm, I'm
mm,
excited now. I may know, but
mm.
I can't recall. Awesome.
Yes, yes. And other than that, you know what? I mean, who's inspiring me? A lot of people, also people that I know, people that I see,
Yeah.
people that inspired me massively when we were preparing for our measly 5K were the Iron Man and women who were doing the Ironman and here in Denmark during the summer. And it was incredible. They had their cycling route right by our where we live along the water. And I thought, it was amazing. There were people of all ages, of all races. I mean, it was incredible, old, young, middle aged. And I thought that is super inspiring. And then I know this might sound cheesy, but also, the Olympics inspired me. We watched the
Yeah.
Olympics. And then there were also the Paralympics. And I thought, come on,
Yeah.
we're here complaining.
I
And
know.
these guys, not only had to deal with their own personal issues and things, but also Corona and preparing for the Olympics during Corona. I mean, wow, that was inspiring.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the Olympics. I got to go in 2002 with Bob Hoffman and just
So
in
cool.
Utah and just had the best time ever. Yeah, it was a really cool trip. Um, Kathy, thank you for sharing that. That was
Of
awesome as
course.
always. I
Mm.
love the journey. The cool is that like if anybody needs to know, like you don't just speak it, like you totally live it. And if not, you try to, and that's like the coolest part. Like, I love to see you out there doing it. You definitely inspire me for sure. And I'm
I'm
glad
so
we got to
glad.
connect. Yeah. So
Yes.
Kathy Borys Siddiqui on LinkedIn if you want to see her. She's all over the place. But thanks, and
You're very
we'll
welcome.
talk again, and I'll tell you how the water treatment is going.
Very curious to hear about it.
I love it. Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
All right, talk to you later.